Hello and welcome to the Micro Business Development Program Deep Dive Podcast, hosted by three guys in ties. I'm Tyler Jokinen, Micro Business Counselor and Project Embrace Coordinator.
I'm Adam Annunziata, Business Counselor with Brock Community Action.
And I'm Benton Winrich, Business Counselor with Brock Community Action.
Welcome to the Deep Dive Podcast. Today we have some more myths to bust. Today we're talking about operational business myths. Let's get right into it again. First myth is that running the business is easy.
Yeah, I think this is a myth that a lot of people, especially those who don't currently own a business, might think. For many current business owners, this is not a myth. This is a reality that is already busted, that running the business is easy. For many business owners, they realize that there's so much that goes into running the business that it's not as easy as they may have thought on paper.
Yeah, I think from the outside perspective, somebody sees, the restaurant business owner coming out and, saying hi to the guests that are in the restaurant, making sure everything's good. Oh, that's not so good. I'll send it back to the waiter, to the chef. They see it as the easier, the glamour side of running the business. But as far as running the business easy, they don't see everything on the background. They don't see the profit and loss statements. They don't see that the business is in debt and trying to dig out of a hole. They don't see that he's trying to balance this business and not to have to lay off employees to shut the doors. They don't see that food prices and costs are rising and profit margins are shrinking. They don't see the sleepless nights stressing over taxes. So running the business is easy? Yeah, running a business is very easy if you're willing to work 100 hours a week and have a high tolerance for stress. Yeah, super easy. Definitely sarcasm intended. Running a business is hard. Listening to us, I can't tell you how difficult running the business is. I remember running a business, landscaping business, 3 employees. Oh my gosh, dealing with taxes. Oh, and then you get a phone call. Oh, one of your employees just ran the truck into a load of pellets, wood pellets, ran the truck into it in a driveway. What? Oh, today is going great. And now you got to put on a smile, meet the customers, fix everything up. Oh, those are your pellets? Sure. I'm very sorry about that. We'll pick them up. We'll pay for the difference of it. Don't worry about it. You just lost me profit on that lawn for the next 2 months. Come on, Ben. What do you think?
I think that story really helps us transition into one of the first operational business myths, is that employees are going to make the business so much easier. You're going to have to stop doing work once you hire employees. That is certainly not the case, as Tyler could tell you.
Employees? Employees definitely. Oh, they make business so much easier. No, they make it so much harder. So if you're just doing all the work yourself, you don't got to worry about workman's comp. You sign a form, no workman's comp payment. Hire an employee, now you're paying workman's comp. Now you're legally responsible for the actions of that employee. You're putting them behind the wheel of a business-owned vehicle. Wow, now they're on business insurance. Now they're running a multi-thousand-pound vehicle down the street with trailers and equipment. They're doing your financial. They're the face of your business. If something happens with that employee, if they get hurt, if they get injured, that responsibility can be on you. Not to mention the paperwork. The paperwork wants to make me cry just thinking about it. My gosh, running their payroll, running the taxes, doing more quarterly reporting. Oh, running a business is 75% doing the business and 25% back office. And if you fail at the back office, the business will fail, no matter how good your product is. Employees, I'll talk about it in a little bit, but they can also help save a business as well. But man, they do not make it easy. You think you're gonna hire employees and they're gonna do the work for you? You got to wake up and grow up, because that's not the case. You hire employees, you now have to keep them busy, to keep them paid, to keep them making money, to keep the business moving. You can't hire them to do the work and you think you're going to sit back and do nothing. And until the business scales to the size of having hundreds of employees, yeah, maybe then you can take a week's vacation. And the whole time you're going to be looking at email and stressing because things are going to go wrong during that week. Give me a break. This myth is busted. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Once you have an employee, even if it's just one, you then have to manage that employee. So now you not only doing the work that you were doing prior to that, but as you're trying to scale up, the more employees you have, the more people you have to manage. And having managed people before, I can tell you that people don't always want to do what you need them to do. So then you kind of have to work in the art of getting someone to do something they don't necessarily exactly want to do. It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes work. And saying that employees do all the work for you is definitely busted because they might do some of the work, but they're not going to sit in the back office and crunch your numbers and pay your payroll taxes for you. You're going to have to still do that. So there is some work that they will do, and if you're doing landscaping, you're going to have a guy mowing the lawn or string trimming, whatever it is. They're doing some of the work. You're still going to have to do the bulk of the work.
And the biggest thing is business is not static. It's not, oh, I hired employees, now I can take time off. No, because everything is constantly changing. The employees are having issues in life. Life goes on. People have kids born. People lose jobs. People get sick. People get injured. People are dynamic. Business is dynamic. It's always changing. As a business grows, hiring employees is tremendously difficult. You're adding on a ton of extra cost burden, and now you have to have revenue to catch up with that. If you're just a single person, to take example landscaping, if you're a single person going out and doing lawns and equipment, well, your overhead is kind of fixed at equipment payments and insurance. But now that you're adding an employee on, and you got to add them on at least part-time and typically full-time 40 hours a week, you're adding on their paycheck and everything else that you are now responsible for. I can't stress this enough. You are taking upon the responsibility of somebody else's livelihood and their family being able to eat that week. You have to make sure they have a paycheck. They take a paycheck before you take a paycheck, because you have to build trust with your employees. You have to invest time and energy and training, and they have to like you. Because if your employees don't like you, they are not going to do a good job and good work. They have to believe in the mission, vision, and values of the business. You can't just come in there and tell them what to do. It does not work like that. This is not 1900. It does not work like that. You have to work with them and motivate them. We are human beings. People have to feel inspired and not told what to do.
I mean, these are certainly all great points, and obviously this myth is busted. And, this just shows that running a business is not as glamorous as many people see from the outside. I mean, certainly if we think of, those restaurant businesses having to manage those employees, if you're a business owner and you're running by yourself, you don't need management skills because you know how to manage yourself. That's an entirely different skill that you have to learn if you want to scale that business up. Certainly, it's a learning experience and it can be done and it can make the business better, but it's not as easy as hire an employee, make things easier. So, I mean, certainly another myth dispelled. And I think, another myth that we look at with a business owner and sort of that glamorous idea of running a business is that once the business is up and running and you see that they're getting customers and sales, that they're flush with cash. That is simply just not the case with many businesses. I know Adam and Tyler could both help me dispel this.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes when you go out to a restaurant, you're sitting in a crowded restaurant and you see your bill come and, say it's $100 bill, it's you and your significant other, whoever it might be. If your bill is $100, you start crunching some numbers and start thinking, if every person in here is paying about $50 for their meal, how much is this business making right now, just off of who's sitting in the seats? What you're not factoring into that number, as big as a number as that might appear to be, you're not factoring in all the taxes that must be paid, all the food costs, all the cost of the labor that goes into it. There's so many added costs that go into revenue versus net that your net number is going to look substantially smaller than your gross revenue. And I think that's something that on paper, when you just look at a business's revenue and you say, oh yeah, wow, they can make like, $500,000 for a year if they keep up these numbers, but you're not factoring in all the actual costs that go into it. Insurance, liability insurance, employee costs, payroll, all these other factors that come in can really shrink that number when it comes down to the net.
I mean, this revenue versus net idea is just insane. And we've all done it. We've done the math and the back of the hand math to kind of see, oh, wow, it seems like they're making a killing. To take landscaping, we were charging $65 an hour to our customers. And that was $65 an hour for each person per hour on the job doing work. Well, so when we really look at it, we think $65 an hour. Oh, wow, we got 3 people on the job site for 6 hours. Man, that's a lot of money. Now you have to look at it and really think, okay, how much are the employees being paid? And we were paying a prevailing wage. We were paying one of the highest wages for landscaping in the area. We were paying $18 an hour at the time. And then that, on top of that, you got to pay taxes. It's just insane. So, after taxes and everything, you're paying $23 an hour or so. Now you add in insurance. Insurance is a killer. You add in workman's comp, another killer. It's just, you keep adding in these things and it keeps chipping away. Plus now you're adding in equipment. You're adding in gas. You're adding in fuel. You're adding in tires, trailer maintenance, all these things that people don't think about, signage and advertising and website hosting, legal fees, tax fees. Once you add them up, the industry average profit margin for landscaping business is 12%. 12% profit margin. So every $100,000 you do in revenue, and $100,000 is a lot of lawns. It is a lot of lawns. You are mowing grass like crazy to make $100,000 in revenue. And then the business out of that, if you do everything perfectly, the industry average is 12%, meaning $12,000 in profit margin. So in order to make $120,000 a year, you would need to do $1 million in revenue. $1 million in revenue. You need to have 300 to 400 accounts. You got to have 4 to 5 trucks and a dozen guys going all summer long to do $1 million in revenue to be able to net $120,000 in profit. Insane. When people think, oh, wow, they're making a killing. They have no idea about the overhead costs and what it takes to run that business. If you're able to run a business yourself and you can make $10 an hour yourself to take home, you're doing it. You're living the dream. And that's the reality, is that if you can do something you love and run a business and make $10 an hour, the same thing you'd make if you went and worked at a fast food restaurant in town, you're doing good. You're doing really good. That's a profitable, successful business that you should be proud of and you can build up. But that's what it's going to take, because you got to think about all the hours you're putting in that aren't billable, all the hours doing bookkeeping and marketing and advertising and building your website and building your email content list and writing your business plan and thinking about it and stressing and not sleeping. All those hours are unpaid. They have to be factored in to your hourly wage. And once you get all done with that, if you're getting paid $10 an hour for each of those hours, you're doing really good. This revenue versus net is insane.
We don't want to be too discouraging either, because when you do your financial projections, it should be able to tell you all of this already. So we don't want to, shoot it down too hard, but it's really just the realization of actual revenue versus the actual net is what we're trying to say. It might seem like it's a high revenue type business, but once you factor in all the expenses, what is the actual net? And that's what we're trying to hammer home here.
Exactly, Adam. And, if you're thinking about starting a business and you go, oh, there's this business in town and they're charging X amount for their service or product, I can definitely undercut them and take all that business. They're probably charging the price for that product or service for a reason. These people probably aren't taking into account all that overhead, like we were just talking about, that goes into the business. Like we always say, when you just take back the paper numbers and you think that it's going to work out, you might be in for a harsh reality.
And to be honest, you guys are right about kind of the pessimism for it. And I find myself in that sometimes, as seeing the realities of how difficult it is to run a successful and profitable business. The amount of energy and endeavors and intelligence it takes to run a successful business is crazy. So the pessimism really comes from a grounding in reality of how difficult it is. And I want to make sure that all of our clients understand the reality when they're stepping into a business, what's expected of them and how hard it really is. Because I want them to be prepared to do the hard work, to go through the long slog. I don't want them to think, wow, this is really hard. They told me that this is going to be super easy. No, the myth is busted. Running a business is hard. It is hard. And I will continue to educate our clients so that they know how difficult it is to run a business. So when you bring your dreams, your passion, your energy, and you call the micro business development program, you get a hold of us. We are going to be excited to help you on your journey to success, but we are going to be realistic with you so that you know when your business plan is done, your financial projections, this is how it should go, and you are prepared to do that hard work and the time commitment. I want to make sure that clients understand that when it's pessimism, it's really sharing them the realism, bringing home our experience from doing this and working with hundreds of businesses and the understanding we've gathered to help pass that on to you as best as we can.
Exactly, Tyler. We're not trying to build a pessimism so much into our clients and people that we're meeting with and prospective business owners. We're really trying to build a pragmatism so that when you really look at that business model and that you can look at a business plan sensibly and say, all right, this is what I'm actually going to, you can be more realistic with the business plan and not sort of build it up to be out of proportion and, you don't meet those expectations when reality comes crashing down. So it's not a pessimism, it's really a pragmatism.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Dive Podcast featuring 3 guys in ties. Hopefully you've learned something from us here today. And if you would like to learn more about our free business counseling, please check us out on the web at www.mbdp.org. mbdp.org. Thank you for listening, and we hope to hear from you soon.